Nishweta. Internet problem now. Good morning, students. I'm here to take the English class for the second years. Yesterday, we had done non-detail and we could only complete 3 of them. The first one was the woman on platform number 8. This was written by Ruskin Bond, the woman on platform number 8 by Ruskin Bond. Like I told you yesterday, Ruskin Bond is very famous. He has been writing books for children from a lot of years, and he writes beautiful stories for the children. This was the first lesson that we discussed. The second was the Christmas gift. This is written by William Sidney Potter. Again, very well known among the children for his beautiful works. William Sidney Potter, who goes by the pen name O. Henry. O. Henry. He also is famous for writing books for the children. The third one that we did was The Doctor's Word. This is written by R.K. Narayan. Again, he is also a famous writer of India. Now, the fourth lesson that I'm going to take up is Lost. This is written by a French author whose name is Guy de Maupassant. He is a French writer where he talks about a baroness and a person of loose character. He was a womanizer running after women. He belonged to the ghetto. What do you mean by ghetto? This is the place where the Jews are kept. Jews are not permitted to mingle with the other society, people of the society, for the simple reason the Jews are looked down upon. So that's he was from the ghetto, but well-to-do person. And once he happened to come across a married lady. young lady, young, beautiful, baroness. Now, who is a baroness? In England, there are several titles given to the people. They are Earl, Count, Baron, Viscount, and Duke. You must have heard. And the baron's wife is known as a baroness. So she was a young married woman, happily married, and this young Jew took a liking for the baroness and started courting her. Though the baroness disliked it, did not want to entertain him, she did not speak to him, he still continued pursuing her. He felt with his wealth, he could conquer her. He had a lot of money, and he thought with his wealth, he could one day make the baroness accept him. So this lady was very clever, and she did not like the young man from the ghetto pursuing her. So she wanted to teach him a lesson. So one day she went into the German quarter, and where there were carpets and tapestries, where they were hung. Her husband, knowing that it was beyond his means to take that, disappeared, and this lady happened to come across a cloak, or you can say fur trimmed, sorry, which was beyond her means. So she saw that, she was fascinated by it, and she stood before it admiring for some time before she happened to see the sticker, the price, and realized, oh, I cannot afford this. It's way beyond my means. The young man who was standing beside her, the man from the ghetto, immediately said that you are a young, beautiful lady. You should not worry about such a thing, about prices. Please allow me to lay it on your feet. At that, this lady wanted to teach him a lesson. So she asked him, are you sure you are not laughing at me? So he said, no, I'm really in love with you, and I want to present this for quote to you. At that, she said, I feel like whipping you, just like that lady in the picture did. Venus, just a second, children. Venus in furs. Now I remember. And she said that I will flog you like the Venus in furs. At that uh, he still smiles at her. Flog is whipping you. And just like in the picture where the Venus in furs had whipped her slave for some misdemeanor, she also tells him, do you want me to flog you just like the Venus in furs? He is very happy and he says, I don't mind. But tell me where I should bring this sable cloak to you. So she gave him the time, venue as her house at 8 p.m. the next day. So what happened? The next day, the young baron took the sable cloak which he had bought, the expensive sable cloak, and came to this young baroness' house. And there he found her lying down on a couch in a cloak and carrying a dog's whip in her hand. So the moment he came, she asked him, do you know a deal? That is, I will flog you 25 times. 25 times. And after I flog you 25 times, you can ask me to do whatever you want. Now the young Jewish man was very, very happy. Oh, finally, the baroness has come into my grip. She is ready to do whatever I want her. So what he does was, he agrees to be flogged 25. Though it is beneath his self-respect, he still wanted, because he felt at that time the baroness would listen to whatever he said. He accepted. Then the baroness made him kneel before her, and had his hands tied behind his back. Even this he accepted. He was on his knees with his hands tied behind his back, and she started flogging him. When she flogged him for the first time, he cried out with pain. It gave him a lot of pain, but he thought, with this pain, he's coming. With each pain, he's coming closer to the baroness. So he still did not mind when she started whipping him. But this lady flogged him only not 25 times, but 24 times, and stopped. And he was eager. One more whip on his back and she would be his. He was eagerly waiting. And he said, why did you stop? Please continue. But this little vixen, instead of whipping him, opened the curtain where her husband and two other people as witnesses stood. And she said, I agreed to do whatever you said after I whipped you 25 times. But I didn't whip you 25 times, but only 24 times. At that, the man was completely depressed and he used the word lost. And that is why the heading lost is given. So this story is written by a French author, Guy de Maupassant, where he tells about a young baroness who happened to completely turn the tables on that young womanizer who was pursuing her despite her disgust, and though she kept on saying she did not want to, she was happily married. She was in love with her husband and had no this to come close to this young Jew, young handsome Jew. Though he was young, he was handsome as well as rich. But like I said, he was a Jew, belonged to the ghetto. And she did not want to mingle with him. And though she kept on showing that she had no interest in him pursuing her, he kept on his perseverance. And this is the way she taught him a lesson. She asked him to kneel before her, had his hands tied up, and flogged him 24 times before showing that her husband and two other men were witness to this deal. The next lesson that we are going to take up is an interview. By Richard Gordon. Richard Gordon is a surgeon, and this interview was when he wanted to get into St. Swithin's Medical School. He had, this is autobiographical, where he tells about the interview. Actually, if you see, he says it is so embarrassing if in the interview they asked him why he chose this career or why they chose St. Swithin's as their goal. And St. Swithin's. He says it is embarrassing because he had actually no idea what to do in his career. And that's the reason he and his father decided to enroll in the medical school. Children, you may laugh and think for no reason he's going into a medical school. You should remember in olden days, they used to literally ask people to join in jobs. Jobs were very easy to get in those days. Many people never had this unemployment problem in those days. People used to call them and request them to join in their jobs. So he had he did not know what to do to further his career, and his father, being a doctor, asked him to join in St. Swithin's medical school. And for 1 week, he had been pressurized by his father, trying to think of what all questions would come in this interview and how he should answer. But the one thing that was frustrating him was the answer, the reason why he joined. If the dean of the college happened to ask him this question, he did not know how to answer. You cannot say with no goal he was joining this college. It would be very embarrassing. Anyway, he was mentally prepared, frustrated, because his father had been pressurizing him for one whole long week, that making him come up with the answers and everything. So he was totally fed up. He was depressed when he walked into the medical school. And there he happened to tell them that he wanted to meet the dean for the entrance test. So the person showed him into a small dark room. It was tiled with all the previous deans of the college, but it was so dust. There was no furniture in the room except one table, and it was very gloomy and dark because it was not clean. Even the photographs looked like part of the wall, like the tiles of the wall. They were so dusty. Anyway, he sat, since there was no place for him to sit, he sat on the edge of the table, contemplating what questions would be asked and how he should go about answering them, when the door opened. Today also I forgot the form. And a thin, lanky man, a very old, thin, what is pin's knees? Yesterday, I explained to you the meaning of fob. In olden days, people did not have wrist watches, but they had watches in their pocket watch, in their pockets. Pin's knees also, they never had proper spectacles. They had with a long handle, the glasses were held with the long handle, and they would look through, either from over it or under it rather than through it. These, or they had, this could be held in the hand, or there would be these stoppers there, which they would fix onto their noses. And that's why it is known as pinch knees. He came with that in his hand, and immediately the man who, Richard Gordon, the narrator, stood up quickly, nervously, folded his hand and stood very politely in front of the old man. So the old man introduced himself. He was not the dean, but the secretary. Secretary. And he said, I'm the secretary here, and are you wanting to join in this school? What is your reason? And more than this, Usually when you go in for an interview, the questions asked are based on the subject. This man did not ask him anything related to the subject, but he asked him if he can pay the fees, if he's interested in joining, and if he can pay the fees, whether he studied in the public school, and what are the games that he liked, whether he liked soccer, rugby, and so on. So when he answered this, he just said, I have been here from ages. Even your father would have, if he had studied, I had been the secretary, including the dean. When he joined the college, I was already here. I've seen many children come and go. Some were good, some were bad. Just like every family has a black sheep, we also have them in our school. Black sheep. Now, what do you mean by black sheep? Black sheep, in every family, there will be one problematic child who always does gets himself or herself into trouble, and such a person is known as the black sheep of the family. So he said, I've seen many children come and go. Some were good, some were bad. Just like every family has a black sheep, we also have our own share of black sheep. And then he says, wait, and he went out. Again, the man started contemplating the tiles of the room. The past deans studied them closely. In the meantime, the old man opened the door and took him into the presence of the dean. So finally, he was able to meet the dean. He also was very, very surprised when the dean did not ask him any questions related to the subject. He asked him in which game he was interested in. So when he said soccer, he asked him which position. And when he told him his position, he was thinking the man was telling him the wrong answer, because he said, you are very thin and short, small for that position. Left wing. He says left wing. So he says, you are very thin and small. So the man immediately said that he had won hundreds of it in his position. At that, he said, oh, okay, maybe so. And then he said, I'm very glad you are a left wing, because we have lots of forwards. That is, these are positions in a soccer. You must have played the game and you will know that each one has a particular place where they have to stand. So in that, he was in the left wing, and the dean says there are many people in their school who are in the position of forwards. It's good that you are in the, you are left wing. And then he pauses for some time, and then there is a bright smile on his face. Immediately, the Richard Gordon, the narrator, holds the arms of his chair very tightly, because he realizes the dean has come to a conclusion. And what was that conclusion? He was very anxious to know about it. But the dean stands up, gives him a bright smile, holds his hand, shakes him and tells him, welcome to St. Swithin's. You have got your admission. This, he was very happy he got the seat. But what worried him was, what was the interview all about? There was nothing asked. In what way did the dean conclude that he could be a good student in that medical school? It was only later on that he realized that the secretary played the pivotal role in this. The secretary, the old man. The main role in this whole thing. If the secretary liked the person, seeing his appearance, he would give the go to the dean, and the dean would accept the student into the medical school. So all this was just a formality. There was nothing in the interview. He had been so scared. He was wondering what questions would be asked. But other than asking them whether they could pay the fees of this, whether they have been to medical school and all, sorry, to a private public school and such questions, and mostly about the soccer. The dean seemed to be very interested about the soccer. And that's how he kept on asking about it. So the interview basically, where Richard Gordon, a surgeon at present, had been to St. Swithin's, and there he had attended the interview. So with this, we conclude the non-details, children. We have done all the 5. The woman on platform 8 is about Ruskin Bond and talks about the schoolboy Arun, how he meets a stranger, talks with her, she offers him snacks at the railway canteen, and finally, seeing her simplicity, her sadness, he finally calls her mother at the end. The Christmas Gift by William Sidney Potter, whose pen name is O. Henry, is about the couple, Jim and Della. Jim and Della love each other, and they sacrifice their own precious gift. Della sacrifices her long brown wavy hair, and Jim a gold watch which was given by his grandparents, had been coming down the generations. He sacrificed that to buy a gift for Della, and Della sacrifices the hair to buy a gift for Jim. And then coming to the third one, the Doctor's Word by R.K. Narayan. Here R.K. Narayan talks about 2 friends, very good friends. One is Dr. Raman and his close friend Gopal. When Gopal was sick, Dr. Raman was in a dilemma, because Dr. Raman is a straightforward doctor who doesn't polish his words. He just tells them the truth because he says the patient should know the truth. One day or the other, they will know the truth. So it's better not to hide the fact. But when it comes to his close friend Gopal, he's hesitant to tell him that his heart is weak. He doesn't want, if he tells him that he cannot live, he needs to sign the will. The little hope that his friend Gopal had would disappear. And that's why he tells lies for the first time, saying you will survive to sign the will. And next day, he finds a change in his friend Gopal, who has completely recovered. And this was a miracle on his part. A little hope also can cause miracles. And the other is lost. This is written by a French author, Guy de Maupassant, where he talks about a young married baroness who was a young Jewish baron was chasing her. He was basically a womanizer, man of wealth, handsome, young, and loved to go around with women. When he sees and falls in love with this young baroness, he wants to persevere her, but she is unhappy. And how she finally turns the tables is all what the story is about. And the last is the interview by Richard Gordon. It's an autobiography of his where he talks about how he got, how he was admitted into St. Swithin's Medical School. He was very worried because basically he did not have any idea why he was joining that college, and he felt embarrassed. Had they asked him this question, what would he answer? But fortunately for him, they asked him none of the expected question, but instead asked him if he would be able to pay the fees and what he played, which position he played in this game, and so on and so forth, and finally decided to give him admission into the school. But what baffled him was why, in what way his role in the soccer game enabled the dean to understand that he would be a capable medical student. So in this way, children, it's very easy. Non-details are just stories. If you can understand the story, you can write it in your own words. Non-detail, we do not have annotation. It's only one question and answer. Out of the 5, you can leave out any one easily. Learn only 4 answers from this perfectly with correct grammatical sentences, spellings, punctuations, and so on, so that you can easily get 4 marks. Attempt your paper very neatly, keep it neatly. Presentation should be good in order to get full marks. So children, here we end the lesson. Hope to see you tomorrow. Good day, children. Yeah. And always, children, when you present your question and answers or annotation, please present it in a proper way. Not only your handwriting should be neat, it should be legible. That is main thing. There are times when you scribble, write very small letters, and you think it's neat. It may be neat to look at, but it should be also clear and easily understood. So keep this in mind when you attempt your paper, children. Have a good day. And the tense should always be the same. If you start in present tense, keep it in present tense. Of the best way is always reported the speech. The past tense should be used. Have a good day, children. Who's gone?